Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big Fight Breakdown here on ProBox TV. Jimmy Smith, joined by, of course, the panel of experts, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, Teddy Atlas, to discuss someone who's bigger than big in boxing. That's right, Canelo Alvarez. We know it's on the line May 4th, 168-pound supremacy. Now, according to your book, depending on where you're betting right now, Canelo, a 6-1 favorite. A simple question. Paulie Malignaggi, is he worth those kind of odds? How does Canelo win?
Canelo wins if he slows down the pace of Munguia. That's the one risk. If you're looking for something to risk here in this fight, it's that Munguia is the risk factor to Canelo in that regard, that he brings a fast pace. Now, the counteraction to that is it's easy to hit. Canelo can slow down Munguia, catching him with those clean shots in between the big salvos that Munguia punches with. You know, his defense is a little bit lacking. Canelo has some very good power. You don't want to have a lacking defense against a guy with very good power. However, the Mexican heart of Munguia, if he's got that big Mexican heart that we have seen over and over again, where he loves the exchanges, he loves the fast pace, he may take those shots and continue with a fast pace. That could be problems for Canelo Alvarez. Those are really the things that you're looking for if you're trying to see why this is a good fight. Can Canelo slow down the pace of Munguia? Because if there's one thing Canelo has shown consistently to have problems with, it's with fighters who bring a pace that makes him uncomfortable.
Now, Chris, a lot of people talk about the savagery of Canelo Alvarez. Hasn't been there recently. Hasn't finished a lot of guys. Going the distance a lot. Is it one of those things where you see the guy slowing down where Munguia might have opportunities? What do you think about that?
Well, listen, Father Time is undefeated. We say that all the time in this show. And Canelo is definitely a different fighter now than he was a few years ago. You mentioned the savagery. You mentioned him getting stoppages. And he's got a guy in front of him, Jaime Munguia, who, as the champ said, I mean, he sets a torrid pace. And that's usually what gives aging fighters the most problem. But listen, Canelo of old, Munguia is tailor-made. There's a lot of holes in his defense that he would be able to use those sharp counters to get his attention. And Canelo has good power, very, very good power. He's stopped a lot of really high-level guys over the years. So, and what he does, you know, when Paulie mentioned like slowing down the pace of Munguia, what he does do that, he uses explosive defensive maneuvers and head movement and aggressive head movements that makes guys kind of shut down on their offense, makes them think a lot. Canelo does have good speed. And even though he's a much shorter man from most super middleweights, he uses that aggressive head movement and that speed differential to walk guys down as they're handcuffed. And then once he's inside, he comes down that high guard. He has good reactions. He likes to slip and rip. He's a very dangerous guy to have in front of you, and he closes the distance well, cuts off the ring, as we saw in the Caleb Plant fight. But with a guy like Munguia, who's bigger, longer, throws a ton of punches, he's going to have to kind of pick his spots a little bit more. He wants to try and slow that pace down with that head movement, but I don't know if that's really going to work on Munguia. But Munguia has openings. He likes to trade left hooks a lot, and whoever can get there shorter and tighter is going to have the advantage. And I think Canelo has the shorter left hook. We saw Munguia get cracked in a couple times in the John Ryder fight with right hooks, and especially in the Derevyanchenko fight. He was cracked with left hooks in the middle of his trading combinations. Munguia throws long combinations, so there's holes in that defense. And the longer the combination goes, the slower his speed is on those punches, the more openings that are available, the wider the punches get. And Canelo being smart and looking in between those punches to find his holes, I think is going to be a really important thing for Canelo to do, and see if he can still pull that trigger even at his slightly advanced age.
Now, Teddy Atlas, you heard Chris say it, you know, Canelo slips and rips, right? When you watch Floyd Mayweather in his prime, people started out punching against him. By the middle of the fight, they weren't throwing anymore because they're eating too many counter punches. Do you think that counter punching is the key for a victory if you're Canelo?
I think that both the champions were right on the button, and I'll play off to begin with Paulie. To slow down the pace, you got the younger guy with a big motor. You know, if he doesn't get hurt, there's the danger he could out-hustle, outwork Canelo at this point in his career. Canelo's slowing down. I won't use the word slipping because the Mexican fans are already mad enough at me, you know, me and Paulie. But he's slowed down, like Chris said. So the best way to slow down the pace and not let him outwork you and not let him get into his rhythm that Paulie touched on is to use something that he's really good at, a jab. He's got a good, hard, accurate jab, does Canelo. So use that jab. That jab at the right time, at the right space, is going to keep Munguia from ever getting into gear. Maybe keep him in the driveway where he never gets on the highway. Because to both of the champions, they're right. He wants to get on the highway. He wants to go 70, 80 miles an hour. And Canelo wants to, you know, he wants to go at a pedestrian pace. He wants to go 55. He wants to go the speed limit, 55, 60, maybe 65. So The jab can stop that from happening, from him ever getting up to that kind of speed. The other thing is what Chris talked about, where the hooking. You know, I remember where, first of all, Munguia throws a wider hook. He's a good puncher. Canelo's a more concise puncher. Canelo's a more accurate puncher. Canelo might be just a better puncher overall, even though he's a smaller guy naturally. But Canelo, even though they both throw hooks, the trick here, or the thing for me, or the key here is Munguia will throw it wide. And sometimes he'll lead in front of you. I remember, you guys remember Amir Khan a few years ago? Remember that sudden ending? He was throwing a wide hook, and what did we all talk about? The left hooks, the left hooks, the left hooks, and rightfully so. You know, two Mexican fighters, both of them have good left hooks, traditional punch for Mexicans, right? All of that, the history of it. But the straight right hand will beat a wider left hook. And Canelo, I still remember it. Canelo threw a beautiful straight right hand when Amir Khan was throwing a wider hook right in front. Bang! The fight was over. No left hook, straight right hand. So I can see the counter punching being a big part of it. And specifically, I can actually think the opposite of what a lot of people might think. I can see the straight, accurate, hard right hand of Canelo getting inside a wider hook from the younger Munguia and hurting him.
Well, that's right. It's not a one-sided fight. It isn't just Canelo Alvarez. That's right. Jaime Munguia, does he have a chance? We discuss his opportunities when we come back. Welcome back to Big Fight Breakdown here on ProBox TV. It doesn't get a whole lot bigger than Canelo Alvarez in the world of boxing, not getting in the ring by himself. That's right, his opponent, Jaime Munguia, undefeated. A lot of people think he might have a shot, although the bookmakers disagree. Gentlemen, I want to start out with a question about not just his tactical ways to win, which I want you to talk about. Fighters talk about all the time, not getting beaten by the moment. A huge weekend, Mexico versus Mexico, Cinco de Mayo, Vegas, keeping all that on the outside. Is that going to be a problem for Munguia? Chris, what do you think?
I personally think no. I think that this is something that Jaime Munguia has been training for his entire life. You mentioned Mexican versus Mexican. This is in his blood. He is a war. He comes from a warrior class. This is something that he has been prepared for and dreaming about his entire life. And he has a huge opportunity to fight someone that he very much respects, and he should, because Canelo is legendary at this point. I do not think it's going to be an issue for Jaime Munguia. I think that he will be properly prepared mentally, psychologically, and of course physically. So no, I don't think that. I don't think the deer in headlights is going to show up. I think Munguia is going to show up, and I think it's going to be a really good fight. I'm really looking forward to this fight. And in terms of if he can win, damn right he can win. I think this is a really tough fight for Canelo, and the closer we get to it, the more I'm getting a funny feeling, man. I mean, Munguia might be able to do this. He might be able to pull this off. Youth is a big thing, man, and he's not just youthful. He's got a lot of fights, so he's got some experience. He's a great engine, like the great Teddy Atlas said earlier. The guy throws a ton of punches. He's tough as nails, and he does not mind getting hit and going forward and going through the resistance that is going to be put up by Canelo or anyone else. He's also really big. Really big for the weight class. He's tall. He's a big 68-pounder. Canelo is shorter than me. He's not a big 68-pounder. He's going to have to deal with this big, long guy in front of him. And listen, if there was ever a blueprint on how to beat Canelo Alvarez, Dimitri Bivol showed us. And he did three things that are really important. He kept the jab in Canelo's face. Canelo doesn't like jabs. Floyd Mayweather used the jab to beat him. And to a degree, Sergey Kovalev gave Canelo a lot of trouble because he has a very underrated jab and a good jab that sets up those power shots. Number two, set a pace. Bivol sets a pace. He throws a lot of punches. He was very, very active with his hands and his feet. And then number three, mixing offense and defense together, making that seamless, being able to hit and not be hit. That's what boxing is all about. Using that in and out style that Bivol used while keeping his hands and his offense in Canelo's face really handcuffed him all night long. Because like I mentioned earlier, Canelo likes that high guard defense. If you keep touching that, keep that busy, keep those hands at home, it takes away a lot of those counter and offensive opportunities for Canelo. So if Munguia can set that pace early, deal with those counters and the power that comes from Canelo Alvarez, and just not take those not absorb too much damage early on, and take this fight late, he has a real chance to upset the legendary Canelo Alvarez.
Paulie, is that the key to you? Is it going to look like the Bivol fight? If you're betting on Munguia, you want that 6-1 money. Are you betting on a fight that looks like the Bivol loss?
I mean, you're betting on the pace Bivol brought. I mean, I thought that was a big key, big factor in in Bivol handcuffing Canelo Alvarez. It's just that the question you're asking yourself is, do you trust Munguia to be as disciplined defensively as Bivol is? Bivol is very, very disciplined defensively. He knows how to be in and out. And Munguia does fight in an in and out style, and he attacks in an in and out style, which can, of course, be timed, as I've heard Teddy talk about many times in the past about that style. But at the same time, Munguia is a bit reckless with it as well. Bivol kind of, he'll kind of half step, he'll feint with it a little bit, and that will throw off your ability to time the in and the out when you throw in little deceptions like that. I think Munguia has to work on some of that. If there's anything that he's been caught, he's been timed with that style, and that's why he's hittable. He does a lot of hitting because he throws those punches and salvos, those combinations and salvos, but he's also been timed. And Derevyanchenko, I noticed, timed them very, very well, a lot on the out of those combinations, and landed some really good shots and even hurt him at times. So it's really about buttoning things up for Munguia if he's gonna be successful. He's got the anecdote, so to speak, which is a pace. That's what makes a fight good. Like, for example, you were looking at a John Ryder fight, and you can really figure out why that fight would be good anyway. Even though Ryder is a capable guy, stylistically, you really couldn't see Ryder winning that fight against Canelo. But this is a fight where, okay, yes, we got Canelo Alvarez as a favorite, but at least it intrigues you a little bit in the fact that Jaime Munguia has something in his arsenal that can and might give Canelo Alvarez problems if he tweaks it just the right way.
Now, Teddy, Eastern European fighters, notoriously disciplined Mexican fighters known for going to war. Does Munguia need to channel his inner, Eastern European, Soviet fighters? Does he need to channel that side to win this fight?
He better learn defense. He better have improved his defense. Both champions touched on that. Paulie last. His defense better be, as Paulie said, better buttoned up. It's getting a little better. He's putting punches together better. He's improving. I see it. He's a work in progress, but he's a guy with 40 fights, and it's time. And he's still not there. He's still not a finished product. He's young. He's not done. But you know what? There's no more time. Time is up. He's in there with Canelo now. So control the outside. Don't test your lacking of defense. Don't test your chin. Don't test the power of Canelo. Don't walk into shots. Control it. Make it a fight where you're going to win it on the outside. You're going to make Canelo take the chances. And if you don't take the chances, you know what? You're going to beat him with a jab, and you're going to pick him apart on the outside. Can you be disciplined enough to do that?
That is the question. And did his corners on both sides, did they get their fighters ready for a tactical fight? And that's right, in the corners, it is Eddie versus Freddie. We break down that contest right after this. Welcome back to the Big Fight Breakdown here on ProBox TV. We're discussing Munguia versus Alvarez, but in the corners, two amazing coaches, Eddie Reynoso and Freddie Roach. I'll start with you, Paulie. Who would you rather have in your corner? Who has the edge in this fight?
And both are excellent trainers. I think, when you go look at the edge, you're not literally looking at who's the better trainer. I think they're both excellent trainers and both have strengths in their own ways. I think maybe Canelo Alvarez has an advantage strictly for the fact that he's been with his trainer for a longer time. There's more chemistry there. And there's, they kind of know each other well. And, if times get tough, they kind of know, Reynoso knows the personality that he's dealing with in the corner and knows how to motivate him and whatnot. Not that that's worked. I mean, let me be honest. When Canelo's faced that opposition in the past, in the middle of fights, I haven't seen him make great adjustments. I saw him make an adjustment between fights, between Golovkin 1 and 2. But in the middle of a fight, when he gets into trouble, I haven't seen him make great adjustments. But nonetheless, he has a trainer who knows him from tactically from the gym for many years, and also knows him personally from his personality. Freddie Roach is a great trainer. I don't know if he spent enough time with Munguia to really know those little tidbits about Munguia, but certainly he's very adept at getting the best out of fighters, and we've seen that, namely, in the last few years, in the last decade or so. I can remember Miguel Cotto going to Freddie and really being high on his combination, on the marriage between fighter trainer that he had with Freddie Roach, and crediting him a lot. So I know that Freddie likes to work with aggressive, offensive style fighters, and Munguia has that. And, there's a lot to bring to the table there too, but I don't know if I give the advantage to somebody, I'd probably go with chemistry, and it's Reynoso and Canelo.
Chris, do you think in-fight adjustments, right, between round changes, do you think they'll be a factor in this fight?
Oh, they always are, especially at the championship level, and especially a fight of this magnitude. But listen, I'm gonna push against Paulie's thought process here. I actually think Freddie Roach is the wild card here. Not to make a pun because he's from the wild card gym, of course. But I think the fact that he's my wild card in this situation, and he's made me think about this fight a lot more because there's the element of surprise from Munguia now, right? We have Freddie Roach. They've only had the one camp together, and listen, he looked phenomenal. He looked great. Granted, he had John Ryder in front of him. It wasn't the best version of John Ryder. I think it was a diminished version that was already beat down by Canelo just a bit. Hell, his career retired immediately after the fight. Irregardless, he looked great with Freddie in his first fight. So now they've had a whole nother camp together. The youthful exuberance and excitement that I'm sure Munguia is feeling getting an opportunity like this, coupled with the fact that he has this new fresh trainer. And Paul, do you remember getting a fresh trainer? Whether you loved the guy or you didn't, I mean, whether the guy was perfect for you or not, you loved the new stuff. You loved the new thing. Got you more excited. And I think with a guy like Munguia, who's going to have that youthfulness and the pace is important, a little more excitement is really going to help. And now you got more excitement and you got some fine-tuned strategic planning from a guy like Freddie Roach. Freddie's a thinker, man. He will pick one or two little things, do those, get them right, and send this man out there. His ability to find just what his fighter needs from all the years of experience, I think, is his best asset. He's a specialist trainer. He's not going to redo Munguia. You don't need to redo Munguia. Munguia already has the thing that gives Canelo trouble. He's just got to make a few adjustments. And the thing is, we don't know what those adjustments are. With Eddie and Eddie and Canelo, it's kind of old dog, new trick, right? We already know what they're coming with. Munguia, I think that element of surprise with Freddie is going to be a very, very interesting caveat in looking at how this fight's going to turn out.
Teddy Atlas, you've been in the corner of champions. What's your thought on these two coaches? Who do you say has the advantage with their fighter?
You know, I'm going to use an analogy, and I'm not calling the fighters. I'm not berating the fighters, of course. I'm using an analogy for you wackos out there that might be prone to try to jump on something like you do with me and Paulie sometimes, and maybe even Chris a little bit. But I'm going to think about the Kentucky Derby. When, the jockeys are very important. They are. There's no doubt about it. You got to get the right ride. But you know what's even more important? The horse. What Paulie touched on at the very beginning. The horse is more important. And what's important about the horse? Of course, the speed, the talent, the ability, but the class that he's been in, that he's shown he can win at that class. Canelo's done that. He's shown he can win at that level, at that class. Munguia really hasn't shown that yet. He hasn't had to show. He's won everything everywhere he's been, but he hasn't been to the Derby. He hasn't been to the Belmont Stakes. He hasn't been to the Preakness. And now he is. As far as talent, I'm not saying that he hasn't been under some hot lights. He has. And I'm not saying that he's not going to deal with Cinco de Mayo over there. I think, like Chris said, I think he'll deal with that fine. But I'm talking about he's stepping up in a class that he hasn't been in yet. And it comes down more to the horse than the jockey when it comes down to that. And I would agree with Paulie. I understand exactly what Chris is saying, and it's true. Sometimes you get a little new energy. You get, it's like getting, when you're getting a little wheezy or something, they give you some fresh, pure oxygen. All right, I'm gonna wait for a little while, and that a new trainer can do that. He can perk you up that way. There's no get excited about it again in a different way. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But I'm gonna go with Paulie on this one because he's been with him longer. Reynoso has just been with him longer. Freddie, I used the word earlier that Munguia is still a work in progress. Well, Freddie is still doing a work in progress with him. I don't know that he's had enough time to do the job that he's going to have to do. Because like I said earlier, there is no more time. The clock has stopped now. It's got to be now. And I think that Freddie, and I think himself, he would wish that he could have more time. And I think the difference is going to be that Roach has not been with Munguia long enough. Reynoso, of course, has been with Canelo from the beginning.
It's about being out of time now, meaning the fighters are going to get in the ring. No more training to go. The question is, who's going to make money come May 4th? The guys are going to help me make my bet right after this. Welcome back to the Big Fight Breakdown. Jimmy, why do you have your phone out? Because I'm about to make some money because of my panel here. Guys, am I betting my house on Canelo or am I putting a couple $100 on Munguia? What's going to make me money? Paulie, hit me.
I think it's about a year too soon for Munguia in this fight. I think there's a reason why Canelo picked him as the opponent when you have, this entire landscape of this weight class, and we know the boogeymen are out there. Munguia is a very good fighter. He's an exciting fighter, and I think he's got a bright future even after this fight. But I think it's probably about a year too soon, in both regards. Canelo's about being a year more shot, Munguia being a year more experienced. I think I'd actually start to favor Munguia. But I think as it stands right now, I still have to favor Canelo Alvarez. He'll still punch in between. There's still too many openings I've seen with Munguia, a little bit too much recklessness. He'll make it fun. He'll make it exciting. The Mexicans will love him. Cinco de Mayo weekend, he's an adept opponent for Canelo because the fight will sell tremendously. He'll make for an exciting fight. But I think he gets hit too much, and he gets hit with stupid punches a lot of times, and I think he gets stopped later in the fight.
Chris, you said you're getting feelings about this fight. Are they enough to change your bet?
I'm getting feelings, man. I'm getting feelings. We get closer and closer. I'm getting feelings, man.
I'm hearing things, Paulie. I'm hearing things. I'm hearing things.
Maybe it's my gut, or maybe it's coming off the tail end of the upset over the weekend from Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia getting that upset. Listen, I love upsets. I love being wrong because it makes the sport exciting, and that's why we love this sport. But I don't know. I agree with Paulie, man. I think Canelo still has enough left. I keep having this recurring vision in my head of Derevyanchenko and Munguia trading left hooks and Munguia getting rocked. And I cannot get that out of my head, because if he does that with Canelo, he's getting knocked out. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. I think he gets stopped late. I think it's a little too soon, like you said, champ. Munguia is an excellent fighter. I think he's going to be around for a long time. And I think this fight's actually going to make him a better fighter for sure. But I still have Canelo finding a way to win. They're very calculated in who they pick the fight. And I think that there's still enough in the tank.
Teddy, clean sweep?
Yeah. Go ahead, bet that. Don't bet the house, bet the garage. You know what I mean? But get the car out of the garage. Get the car out. Don't bet it with the car in. That's always a smart thing to do. Look, I'm gonna go with what I think it was Paulie who said it. They both touched on the right things, but they picked them for a reason. Let's start with that. Okay, start with that. Canelo picks who he wants. Canelo's the golden goose. He's the guy, right? He brings the money, the pay-per-view numbers. He picked Munguia for a reason. Here's the X factor. The only way he's wrong, I think, because style-wise, it fits him. Because this guy is going to be overly aggressive, maybe. He's going to walk in. He's going to show his chin a little bit too much, and he's going to get caught some clean punches by a really concise, good puncher. And that's going to be a problem. Here's the X factor, where the only way they could have made a mistake, if he gets old. That's it. We talked about it earlier. You never know until you know, when a guy steps in that ring and suddenly he's old. And there's a chance he gets old, not only because of his age, but we've been seeing, both of the champions said it, we've been seeing, not the same Canelo. I'd say what didn't want to say earlier, a little slippage. And if he is old, well, then there's the chance that they made a mistake, and then the younger guy, the young lion, can out-hustle him, can outwork him, can out-motor him. But otherwise, I'm going with Canelo to hurt him and to stop him late.
It is 3 in a row for Canelo. That's right. I guess you got to put your house on him. But if you lose your house, just complain to us. Next show, next big fight breakdown. Hope you've enjoyed as much of the fight. We'll see you next time.